Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Shutup Sejal. We have the sign, finally sign aa gaya, courier okay. If you have been following the journey of the sign not being here, basically I forgot to bring the sign while we were filming and now it's here. So very excited. And this episode is going to be about books, why I started reading books and I picked up a new hobby, so I wanted to talk about that. And this is purely because a lot of you guys have asked me about what books I read, how I find recommendations and how I got into reading. And great news, this entire podcast, the full version of it, is exclusively on Spotify. Woohoo! So please go over to Spotify, follow me there and you can listen to the full episode. So also I'm going to have great posture in this video because this top, I love this top and fashion is painful and I have this bad habit of sitting like this, but I'm gonna sit like this in this video. So anytime I like slouch, just like remind me in the comments to sit straight, okay? Will you? Reading books, right? I read on a Kindle. I was gonna bring my Kindle for this, but I forgot it in my bag in my hotel. Like I'm just forgetting shit in this season of this podcast. Like I forgot the sign, I forgot the Kindle. So I read on a Kindle. I used to read a lot as a kid. Like I've read Harry Potter and like Twilight and stuff like that. But as an adult, I started reading very recently, like 2 years ago, like a proper like voracious reader. So I read on a Kindle. I have the Kindle, which is like, I think the cheapest version, 500 ka hai Kindle. Is quite small and I like it because you can just carry it anywhere. And the coolest thing about the Kindle is that you don't mess up your eyes while reading it. Before I purchased a Kindle, I was reading a lot on my phone. I thought, no, I'm not going to purchase a Kindle. Pehle I need to prove that I'm a reader, then I will spend 5,000 rupees. But it really affected my eyes. I've gotten dry eyes because of it. I never had any issues, but now sometimes I have to put drops because of too much screen exposure. So highly recommend a Kindle if you want to start reading. And the other cool thing about a Kindle is that you can get free samples before you actually purchase a book. So I read the free sample first, then see if I like it, and then I will buy the book. And there's like all the books you can ever imagine, and you have it in like one tiny thing that you can always have in your bag. Now why I like reading, I realized that I was watching like way too much content, like way too many shows, and just like binge eating while doing that. I think when I felt stressed out or just like I just wanted to relax, my only way of doing that was to watch something, like just sit and like binge watch an entire show and like eat a shit ton of food. And then when you're doing that, it's kind of like you're blowing your brains out and you're not really focusing on something, you're not very present. It's like you're in a trance. यार मैं इतनी बुरी नींद से उठी हूँ, तो मुझे वो feeling हमेशा आती थी, and also मुझे बहुत anxiety हो रही थी, and I had seen people changing their lives after reading books. So that's how I started. Books, when you read books, I think you're just very present in the moment. And it's not something that's entirely fed to you. You have to like put some effort, because when you're reading, especially if it's not like a crazy like fast fiction type of book, you have to spend your mind energy in creating the mental picture of what you're reading. So that's like a nice brain exercise, I feel, and it keeps you like a little awake instead of just being in a trance and like eating. And genuinely, anytime I put a book down, my Kindle down, I feel like positive. I feel like there's a good feeling in my body. So that's why I continue to read. Now, reading ki habit chhoot jati hai. I know that. Like I said, after my Twilight phase, I picked up a book after very long. And it's hard. I always used to think, yes, I'm going to read. But I think I was picking up books that I didn't like. So that's another thing. You don't have to force yourself to read anything that you don't enjoy. If you're reading something and you feel like it's boring, pick up another book, try something else. You don't have to force feed yourself. And also, I found this like interesting thing that I read is that if you read just 10 minutes every day, you can finish one average sized book in a week, a 200-page book in a week, just 10 minutes every day before you sleep or whenever you get the time. And that's like really motivating, because if you finish one book a week, that's like 4 books a month, and then that is 52 books a year. Yes. So that's pretty cool, and with each book you read, you actually learn something. It's the same, like you watch a show, you learn something cool, but like I said, books are just, I don't know, there's just something about reading that is very relaxing. I wanted self-help books, right? And I know as so many of you guys do, I thought let me start with the Jay Shetty book. Jay Shetty की एक book है called Thinking Like a Monk. मैंने पूरी ख़त्म नहीं करी, मैं नहीं कर पाई पूरी ख़त्म. Although I watch his like videos on Instagram, but the book, I think at that time when I was starting off, मुझे थोड़ी boring और थोड़ी ज़्यादा over लगी थी वो book. I read a little bit of it and I honestly didn't understand much. So I read a little bit, it was inspiring, but that's it, I couldn't finish it. And I think maybe now I can go back to it and read it with a different perspective, because self-help books need some amount of patience. And I've noticed that when you read self-help books, they're just a little bit difficult to read, because as you read, you realize things about yourself which may not be very comfortable. So you just want to put the book away and watch something, or just run away from it, or just eat something. So yeah, Jay Shetty is what I started with. And how I found like more books to read was when you go on Kindle, or if you start like following pages on Instagram which are about reading and stuff, you automatically get recommendations of what books are there related to that. So an author that I found, Brené Brown, great author. I have read her book. I started with her book called Gifts of Imperfections, and I always recommend this book to people. I think it's the nicest book to kind of start your journey to be a little more self-aware and just be a little easy on yourself, because a lot of us tend to be really hard on ourselves. And this book is all about, it's literally like 10 points. There are different chapters, each of which concerns one different aspect of you or one different point, which shows you how, you know, being perfect is not the most important thing in this whole world, and you can let go, be yourself, and embrace who you are naturally, and how that brings so much value to what you do, and वो तुम्हारी friendships better करता है, and तुम्हारा खुद के साथ relationship बहुत अच्छा हो जाता है with that. And that was I think I'm so glad that that was the first book I read of this kind, because it was an easy book to read, not too complicated and simple. The different 10 points made it very easy. And what I do a lot when I'm reading is that on a Kindle, I like it again because of this, you can highlight stuff. So when you're reading self-help books, it's nice to highlight stuff, because it's kind of like, not studying, but it's sort of like you're reading something that's important to you, so you highlight those points, and then anytime I would feel a little perturbed or like anxious or whatever, I would come back to that, and that would really help me out. And that book is also a lot about being vulnerable, being open with how you feel with other people as well, because not all the time you have to hide your emotions, and not all the time you have to put on a brave face. Sometimes you can tell people if you're having a shitty day and if you're feeling scared or whatever, and that actually makes कि तुम्हारी friendship better हो जाती है. And even if you're dating someone, or even with your parents maybe, it can help, you know, strengthening your relationships. That book is highly recommend. Another book that I read, so Brené Brown, because I read that one book by her, and this is like noob reading advice, okay, because I've started reading properly 2 years ago. I thought Brené Brown is a good author, her other books might be nice too, so I started reading a bunch of her other books as well. I think Gifts of Imperfections is her best book. The others are a little like too like statistical and too difficult to read, but they did leave an impact on me, and I think I developed this like habit of reading by then. And I started with the goal that I'm just going to read 10 minutes a day before sleeping, so that I can sleep well also, अच्छी नींद भी आएगी. But when I got so engrossed in the book and the reading, it kind of replaced my social media time, or it replaced my watching shows time. And actually it's great, I don't go on Instagram as much anymore. I will go on Instagram, say when I'm specifically looking for something, like okay, I want to see inspiration to make certain content or whatever, I'll do it for that purpose. But for my entertainment purpose, like I don't do it anymore. But shows तो मैं अभी भी देखती हूँ, show guilty. I still love watching shows, but again, it's like relaxed consumption. It's not just like in the middle of the day you're freaking like binge watching something, which happens a lot if you work alone. Book number 3, 4, I guess, I don't know which book number this is. This book is called Untamed. Now, when I started like understanding more about myself, I kind of figured that I have this weird, I have this like strange thing about being, you know, more literally untamed. I just felt like I restrict myself a lot. I kind of shrink sometimes. And you know, in fact, even with being like a woman, I would feel certain ki nahi, I can't dress like this. It's too womanly. It's too, I don't even have the right words for it. It's just too much. It's too out there. It's too demanding, too this and that. And this book, the title Untamed, like it kind of like appealed to me. This book is by an author called Glennon Doyle. Very cool author, and उसमें ना बहुत सारे celebrity endorsements थे इस book में in the beginning. Camila Cabello had written a note कि oh, this book like is amazing. Emma Watson, I really love Emma Watson, and also Camila Cabello. They're both really cool. So that's why I started reading the book. And this book, from the first page, it's so fast, it's so easy to read, and it's all about how, like, from when we are kids, we are told literally from the stuff we are taught in school, through religious texts and just what our parents say and what everyone says, how like because you're a woman you kind of shrink, and that's what you have to do to be a good woman, to make other people happy, to make other people comfortable. And this whole book is about how to rewild yourself, how to embrace more of yourself as a woman. So even for the men, if there are any guys listening to this, I think it's interesting to read this book because you see it from a woman's perspective. And that's really cool because a lot of times guys have this very one-tone perspective of women कि वो तो ऐसी होती हैं, वो यही होती हैं. And I think girls का भी perspective guys के बारे में similar होता है. So to read opposite is very interesting. And this actually, I've read this book twice now, and every time I read it, it gives me the confidence to kind of, you know, be a little bit more out there. Like even things like what I want to wear or how I want to walk, or for me to wear a top like this, say like a year or two ago, I wouldn't wear it because I would just feel like, no, it's too in other people's faces, or I shouldn't like speak my opinion too loudly or say something to someone, especially if it's a guy who's older, or just any place, because I just felt like, no, I can't do that. So this book really inspired me to be more confident. Okay, there's another book in the same like area that I'll recommend. It's called We Must All Be Feminists, and it's like a short guide for anyone who just wants to understand what feminism is. Even for me, I thought I was a feminist before I started reading more about it, and I started reading more जो female authors ने लिखे हैं. But yeah, anyway, serious topic aside, this is a good book, short book. Read it, recommend it because it's totally worth it. Another book, this is a fiction book, okay? This is an author called Elif Stafak. She's also a female, she is a female author, and I love her books. She has two books that I will tell you guys to read. One is called 40 Rules of Love, the other one is called Island of Missing Trees. Now, if you guys are like 18, 19 listening to this, someone told me to read 40 Rules of Love when I was 18, when I'd gone for my Turkey wala trip. This author also writes a lot about like Turkey and that sort of landscape, and honestly, like, I didn't get it. I tried reading it, I didn't understand what the fuck was happening in this book, but now when I read it again last year as a 26-year-old person, this book is so nice. It's this author का style of writing ना बहुत mystical, magical. मैं कैसे explain करूँ? You have to read it for yourself. Like this book has this poet Rumi, if you've heard about Rumi, so his work. And then there's another story going on, which is in the present day, and those two stories are mixed. And it's written in the most, like, it just makes you feel like you're in some magical world. And it's just a really, like, beautifully written book, so I would really recommend it. But also, I don't want to underestimate 18-year-olds listening or watching this, because most of you are much smarter than I was at that time. So give it a go. And there's another book by the same author, which is new actually. It's called Island of Missing Trees. Similar vibe, बहुत magical है, बहुत ही, it'll make you feel like, oh, like I'm in some magical land. It's very spiritual also. Actually, these kind of, my taste also has become like that. Like I like some element of spirituality, and I'm also getting into like just God and stuff like that because I'm reading about it, and my eyes and my ears were very close to like that, because as a kid I felt like, no, I don't want to be religious, no, nothing, not religion, but just in terms of like just magic in life. It's kind of given me a new perspective. So these two books are pretty cool. And also, I want to tell you where I found these recommendations. Reese Witherspoon's book club is a great place to find recommendations. She's done such cool shit in life. And another cool thing that she's done is open a book club. So it's basically an Instagram page and there's also a website. And they have like a book of the month every month. I follow that page and I most likely end up reading the book of the month. And they also have like different recommendations and stuff like that. So check it out for book recommendations. And yeah, that's it. Like, I think I have talked a lot about my books. If you enjoyed this, I will talk about more books later. And I also talk about like some of my favorite books on Instagram. I keep posting like what I'm reading and what I like about a certain book all the time. So you can check my page out there to get some more recommendations. And also please send me recommendations. Please comment below like this vibe. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun with me and I hope you like felt comfortable and just vibed with me, felt like you're in a chill place. And that's it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, comment, share, and I'll see you in the next episode of Shutup Sejal. The full version of this episode is on Spotify exclusively, so you can listen to everything there. And that's it. I will see you soon. Bye.